I shall be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wooded eye. I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all of the difference. Get ready now for our journey down the road less traveled. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am your humble host, Mr. Dennis Carroll, and this is episode 52, I think, of The Road Less Traveled. Welcome tonight. I want to welcome all of our people coming in here and filling up the chat room, and also want to bring on my co-host, the man and the legend known as Gerald Fountain.
Hello. How's
There
everybody
he
doing?
is. Hello, sir.
Hello. Glad to see
Yeah, we're a
everybody
little
in
rough
chat.
around the edges there tonight. By the time I got ready to come on, I got kicked completely off. So
Ah.
I had to do a real quick return there. But you know, that's life with StreamYard. You never know what adventure you're going to face next.
That's right.
Want to welcome everyone here tonight. It's a cold, dark night out there, but hopefully we've got some warm hearts in the chat room here to keep us warm tonight. And tonight our subject is doorways and portals. So hope we don't get lost in any rabbit holes here, Gerald.
Oh my.
Absolutely. Want to welcome everybody coming in here. Mr. Kyle Smith's in the house. Urso and Monica. Hello, Monica, dear. And let's see who else we got. Let me back up a little bit here. I've lost my train here. Hello, Shiro, Blazer, and somebody named Midwest Night Watcher. There's something.
Uh-oh.
I don't know who let them in.
I don't know.
They must have snuck in the back door.
Better keep an eye on him.
And let's see who else. I got some new comments coming up here. Wizard Moon. Hello, Wizard Moon. Bounty Hunting Bear. Okay. And Demaria. All right. Well, we're getting the full crowd in here, Gerald.
Yeah. Good to see everybody.
I want to ask you a question. I got a question for you. What is one of the most famous doorways or portals in history?
Oh, geez.
Think about that.
I don't know. I can't think of it right off the top of my head.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what the most famous one of the most famous ones, was a little girl named Alice.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She went through what? The looking glass and down the what? Rabbit hole.
Rabbit hole.
Yep. That's a very well-known doorway or portal. Hello, Dawn and Russell. Good to have you here. Yeah, that's a very famous portal or doorway. And that's one of my favorites anyway.
Right.
But you know, doorways are very important, or else you couldn't get out of your house unless you go out through the window. Okay, definitely. Got to have doorways. But we are talking tonight not simply about physical doorways, but what may be termed as metaphysical doorways.
Right. You never know.
Yep. Hello, little Kilroy and Don Morris. Hello, welcome in the house here. Gerald, you got us a picture of a doorway there?
Yeah, out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, no, you might notice something about that. You got some other kind of dimension beyond that doorway, right?
That's right. You never know what you'll find out there when you're hiking through the woods or going somewhere, or just even opening up a doorway in an old house. You never know where it might lead.
You might run into Rod Serling there a little bit. You never know. That would be interesting with you.
But you know, there's all kinds of portals and doorways to other universes or to the other side, if you will. I mean, we talk about mirrors all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I believe without a doubt, and that's just my own personal belief, that you may agree, you may not agree, but I believe these things may be naturally occurring in some places. But I believe some of this stuff can be manipulated as well, either technically or ritually or spiritually. Somehow or another can be opened through certain methods. But I think some of these things are naturally occurring in one place. If I were to say in particular, one place that I think, Gerald, that you would actually run into something like that would be in the Bermuda Triangle or somewhere like, or maybe the Great Lakes Triangle or something like that. It's a possibility there are doorways and portals in places like that,
Right. Absolutely.
And
I
of
mean,
course,
just like,
one of the most famous places for that is Skinwalker Ranch.
oh yeah.
And I have done a lot of research on Skinwalker. I've always wanted to go there. We need to jet out there one day, though, Gerald, actually. Anyway, I've always wanted to go there and kick around, probably get arrested. But anyway, I've always wanted to go there and check it out because they have been all kinds of weird stuff supposedly going on in Skinwalker Ranch. And one of them is a portal that has actually been seen supposedly in the sky over the ranch. And some things have been seen going in and out this portal. And they say that just very much like that picture you showed of that doorway, they said that you could see another place through that doorway in the sky. And like you would be looking on a cloudy day, and through that doorway or that opening, you would see the blue sky or something, And
Right.
it would be like, in daytime, and you would be looking at the portal at night, and it would be daytime on the other side of that portal.
Yep. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. That is fascinating. But I've often talked about this before, and I know you agree with me on this. The smart way to travel through time and space is what? To utilize doorways.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. If you
And that's
can
a very famous one
manipulate.
you got coming up here, picture of it. That's the famous Stargate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up as far as different kinds of doorways and portals. You never know what you're going to run across, whether it's a physical door or a mirror that could lead to the other side, or even a man-made, or whether it's CERN or some kind of scientific experiment that somebody's doing can open a portal.
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with this case, and I'll have to get the exact name of it, but it happened. You may be familiar with it, but this happened supposedly to two English school teachers. And they were on what they call a holiday, in England. They were on a holiday in France. And that day they went to tour the very famous palace of Marie Antoinette. King Louis the 16th and Marie Antoinette. The very famous, I think it's Versailles is the name of it, or something like that. Versailles or something. Anyway, they went on a tour there. And here's the interesting part. You ought to go read about this. This is fascinating. Talk about sort of like going through a portal or time traveling kind of thing. They said that the day they decided to walk from the hotel over there, it wasn't that far, and they were going to take a tour. And they said as the day started out, it just felt really strange,
Right.
It didn't feel right. And she said and the weather was sort of, when it first started out that morning, they had breakfast and everything. The weather was nice, but it was very oppressive when they started walking over there. It was kind of like very, very high humidity or something. It's very strange that the weather would change that quickly. But they said, here's the weird part about it, girl. I don't know if you ever read this or not, but it's a very substantial account, and it's got a lot of people to back this stuff up. Okay, anyway, the two school teachers get to this palace and they notice, hey, look, everybody's wearing, period clothes, they're all dressed up and everything. And they come to find out later in the day, as the day goes on, it gets weirder and stranger, and they see people going about like everyday business, but they got these costumes on and everything, and they even see one woman on a balcony that looks like Marie Antoinette, and and so they're talking about this, and they go back to the motel and everything's okay. The weather sort of like changes when they get back to the hotel. The next day they said, well, we're going to go back, we're going to go back and, because it was kind of, they kind of rushed through the tour that day. They didn't, they said, let's go back and go through it again, take our time this time. So they went back, and thing was, normal, and they didn't see anybody in period costumes, you know. And they stopped and asked this woman, said, "Hey, everybody was dressed up yesterday. What's going on today? Nobody's dressed up." She said, "What are you talking about? We never dress up like that." You need to read about this account. It is wild. But she said that I think one part of the account is like when they passed a certain point before they got to that palace, everything kind of changed. It sounds very much, Gerald, like they walked through a portal.
Right.
We went back in time.
We had Dr. Wu and Eric Wood on our show, and they gave a similar experience where they went to Gettysburg and was hanging out, goofing around all day in Gettysburg, and they went down the road and they looked over in the field and there was a Civil War reenactment going on. So they pull in and they're the only car there. They thought that was strange. There's no other cars in this field. But then, so they got out and they walked over and there's people in period clothes, and like a medical tent, and they're bringing wounded in. And said, man, this is a really good reenactment. And the people were talking to them, and they sat down and ate food with them and drank and stuff. And a few hours went by and they decided, well, we'll go ahead and go back into town. They went into town and hung out, and they started talking to people, and the people said, well, there's no reenactment today. So I said, oh no, we were just there. They said, no, there's no reenactment. So they went back to the spot and it was all gone.
That would have to really freak you out, It really would. Philip says he just said, I just watched the self-destruction of a country star on live TV. Billy Ray Cyrus high as a guy. He's a strange guy anyway. And look at his daughter. But anyway, but that is very strange. I've had a lot of instances of that has supposedly taken place where people. As a matter of fact, there's a fellow in the chat room right now. His mother told me about this, and she is my cousin, and she told me about a very strange incident she had. She was a school teacher, and she was on the way to school one morning, and she said it was a foggy morning, and she got to this field, and it was kind of out in the country like, but she got to this field and said that there was a soldier walking down the side of the road.
Wow.
And said that when she come up on him, she slowed down because she didn't know what was going on, somebody walking on the side of the road, and it was like very early in the morning, just, it was already dawn. It was light. I mean, but it was, very early. And said she slowed down. She got next to him and said that he had a Confederate uniform on. And he had his gun, and he said that he was dragging his gun. And she said he looked completely exhausted and dirty, and dusty looking. And he just looked like somebody very despondent, And said she looked at him and she went by, and he never even looked at her. Like the car wasn't there, and she wasn't there either, kind of thing. And she just looked at him and she went back by there, She said, wow, that's weird. Was there some kind of a reenactment thing going on or what, And so I think when she checked on it later on that day or something like that and found out that where she passed this soldier, there was no reenactment going on, but there had been a battle there.
Oh.
Years ago. Right. And I have to wonder, according to her account, if maybe she didn't run into some kind of time glitch,
Yeah.
It's wild.
A lot of people that go out and explore the woods, they report where, just like you were saying earlier, that temperature changes, or might be a mist or a fog, and everything starts looking different to them, and it's disoriented. And so it's like they walk through a little time loop or maybe a dimension or something. But then by the time the brain fog and everything goes away and it clears up, they're right back on their trail, and everything looks like where it was when they first entered.
Oh yeah. I actually had that happen to me, Gerald. I was in the woods, and I was going down a path I knew well. Okay. I knew this path very well. And I was going from point A to point B, and I knew how long it would take me. It wouldn't take any more than 10 minutes, from point A to point B. And as I began to walk down this path, I kept saying to myself, well, where's the end of it at? It's like I just kept on, and everything was different. It even felt different. And it got very quiet. There were no birds singing, no squirrels, nothing going on. It was just deadly silent. And that was very disturbing to me. I said, well, what the heck? So I stopped about halfway down before I ever got to the end. And I said, well, I'm going back. This is freaky here. I'm going back. So I did 180 degree and went straight back and got back to where, point A was. And I looked at my watch, and what should have only took me 10 minutes, I was gone like 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Now, where was I for 10 extra minutes,
Right.
And I went back down. I turned right back around. And I said, "Hey, I gotta explore this, And I even checked. I always carry. I don't know if you can see this with me, but always on my watch, I've got a compass on here.
Right.
And I kept watching that compass when that first happened, and it was doing weird stuff. It was moving around when it shouldn't. Compasses don't do that for a reason.
Right. Some kind of magnetic field.
Yeah. And it was very magnetic. And there was a feeling in the air of like, I'm not going to say like it was very static or electric, but it's kind of very much like oppressive, like those women were talking about, like before a storm hits. You know what I'm talking about? Like the barometer falls or something.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I felt that. But on the way back to the second trip down, everything was fine. I got point B where I was supposed to go. I looked at my watch. It was 10 minutes. Took me 10 minutes to get there. And somebody said, "Oh, you just took the wrong path." And I said, "No, there was no other path. There was no. I had to left completely off of the path and went into the woods, and I didn't do that."
Wow.
So that was a very freaky incident, and that's why I've told a lot of people to this day, I believe I encountered some kind of a portal. And our friend Jessica talks about that she encountered, some of her team encountered a portal out in the Georgia woods, I think. I think, and I've often wondered about this, Gerald, and I'm just going to bring this up because it's probably a show for another time. But I just wonder how many people that strangely disappear. Could this not be the reason for some of them? Not all of them, but you have to wonder,
Right. Well, there's lots of talks, in the national parks and stuff, Crater Lake, where people be in a group and either the people behind them all of a sudden disappear within, they'll be talking to them, they'll turn around and start walking away. Then when they look back, the people are gone.
John Fortman wants to know, did I have any odd dreams afterward? No, I don't remember that, but it disturbed me because it kind of, I'm not going to say it made me sick or anything or nauseous, but it kind of, I don't know, put me on the edge, like you would hear fingernails on a chalkboard. Kind of a feeling like that, it kind of disturbed me. It's almost as if I ran into some kind of a very high electrical field of some sort,
Wow.
Weird. Yeah. But that's a very strange thing here.
Yeah, when you run into a magnetic field like that, whether it's a portal or some kind of energy coming on, you'll start to feel that, like the hair on your arms and body might start standing up, or static electricity. Your stomach might get queasy. You might start getting brain fog.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if you ever encounter something like that, Gerald, definitely you need to pay attention to it and say, what's going on with this? And make sure your time is right, too. Because that was the one thing I checked. And I said, what happened? I was missing like maybe 15 minutes out of that I should have not have lost, in other words. Because I didn't even go all the way down that path. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I turned around. So the weird thing is you need to check your time and check where you're at and what happens. But there are many reports, Cheryl, and I think you brought this up one time before, of strange and weird fogs that take place in some of these incidences.
Right.
Where people I think there's one very famous one where the guy crossed a covered bridge in a fog. And when he got out on the other side, the road was no longer paved. It was a dirt road.
Wow.
And he said, wait a minute, this is supposed to be a paved road here, you know. And said he went on down the way about a mile or so, turned around, went back, and when he crossed the bridge, he got up, he's back on pavement again. And he said, and when he went back a third time over the bridge, it was okay that time. He didn't see any dirt roads.
Oh my gosh!
So it's almost as if you went back in time crossing that bridge.
That is crazy.
Yeah, that's some wild stuff. But there are reports of mist, strange mist, almost electrified type mist, fogs. And, you know, we've had a lot of fogs here recently where people report burning, the eyes burning, the throat burning, you know. I've even advised people, we don't know what's going on. And it might be a good idea to have maybe a neck gaiter, you know.
Yeah.
Put that over your mouth if you have to go out in a fog. I'm even seeing reports, and I'm not going to get in the weather thing tonight, but I'm seeing reports, I think you have too, of snow actually burning. Have you seen that?
I have not heard that one yet.
Well, they actually were like setting snow on fire.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant when the snowflakes were hitting somebody, it was burning them. No, I've seen them where they try to set snow on fire and all that stuff. That's weird.
They put it in the microwave and they couldn't melt it or something too.
Or it looks like styrofoam balls.
Yeah, I mean, that's not good. Think about that. That's not good at all. And somebody said, you know, we used to when I was a kid, when we'd have snowfall, we would make snow ice cream, you know.
Right.
I would not advise that anymore.
No, I wouldn't do that anymore.
You might not want to do that. I don't know. That's kind of weird. But, you know, we talked about this before, Gerald, that the rain doesn't even look right anymore.
Yeah. I mean, there was a time that they used to talk about acid rain, and now we got like oily rain.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you'll watch it, next time you got a shower or something, watch it on the ground. It beads up. It doesn't soak in like it's supposed to. It beads up to a certain extent. Not a whole lot, but it's beading up a little bit. Shouldn't be doing that.
Right.
I don't know. You know, it would not surprise me that if we're not being manipulated this way with weather, portals, doorways, and all that. I told somebody this on a podcast not a few days ago. I feel like sometimes that we are one big experiment for some of these people. You know, I think we're being experimented with.
Well, you know what? The stuff falling out of the sky from being sprayed, you know, maybe the soil's getting tainted too, so it's not letting rain absorb correctly. Just like a lot of our plants and trees are starting to die out early when they shouldn't be.
John Fortman says the sun isn't yellow anymore. Well, you know, I've had a lot of reports, and you have too, Gerald, of being 2 or 3 different suns in the sky. Which is a phenomenon known as sun dogs. But it's only supposed to happen in winter, you know, when there's a lot of ice crystals in the sky. It's not supposed to happen in summer.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a reflection, but these people are actually seeing a second body, a second star, you know, a sun. So it's like that kind of, and it's not like it's real close in proximity of each other. They're like spread out. It's like, no, that ain't right. That's not sun flare off of a lens, or it's not a sun dog.
Yeah. That is, I don't know, it's very strange. You know, we used to have things called moonbows too. You know, we have the moonbows. You could go out on a very cold night and there'd be a circle around the moon, you know. And there used to be an old weather thing about that, where how many stars were inside the circle is how many days it was until it rained or something like that.
Right.
Anyway, you have a lot of natural phenomena, but you're supposed to have them at the certain times, you know, for a reason. Well, we got some weird stuff going on. And Barry here is talking about the Mandela effect. Barry Kustatin. We've got some really, really weird stuff going on. I have to wonder sometimes, you know, if our reality, our perception of reality is not being monkeyed with a little bit here, you know what I mean?
Right. Well, speaking of that, that kind of ties into my next picture. If you're like this guy and studied at
Oh
a
yeah,
temple with
Doctor Strange.
some uh, some monks, maybe you can control your own portal and create your own time zone. So you never know.
Open them whenever he wants to. But that's what I said on a podcast not long. I think it might have been on Jessica's podcast today. Magic is simply changing our perception of reality. That's what magic is, and that's what Doctor Strange is doing. He's changing perception of reality. He's opening portals through different areas and all that stuff. That is a big, a lot of people, I know this is a comic book we're talking about, but that is a big thing in magic rituals, opening and closing spiritual doorways.
Right.
Aleister Crowley did a lot of work on that, by the way. You know that. He called it the Babylon working, but he was trying to open doorways, spiritual doorways, by using the power of sex, by the way, the energy of sex.
Right.
He was a strange guy. But anyway, he was into that big time, and so was what? Jack Parsons.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. John Fortman says the sun color changed about when they switched to white light bulbs instead of yellow. Get people thinking of white light as normal. That's a possibility. I never thought about that. But hey, if they change, it's not good. It's not a good thing to mess around with somebody's perception of reality. That's just not good. No matter which way you look at it, you're really, really deceiving that person big time.
Yep.
That's not good. I don't see the good guys doing that. Okay, put it that way.
But there's a lot of weird places out there.
When the Chahoga River caught on fire, yeah. Well, now that could happen if there's like oil in the water or something, but there are actually reports of, I think, on some of the indigenous reservations, people actually turning water on in the spigot and being able to set the water on fire. Remember that, Gerald?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you get underground gas and natural oil that could get into an aquifer, and if they're pulling from that,
we can contaminate it. Yeah.
Or like the river you're talking about, there could be a power plant or some factory upstream that's actually dumping or had a spill into the river. So that would explain that possibly, but you never know.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'll tell you what, this is weird. And of course, and on top of all that, you got them doing all that stuff with a harp.
Yep.
I wonder if CERN has anything to do with strange things happening. Well, I'll tell you, Don Morris, absolutely. I think that is part of the equation. It may not be the only reason, but I feel like without doubt that's part of the equation of what's going on. And it could be also what's triggering the Mandela effect to a certain extent. I've run into several writers, and this is some other fascinating research, Cheryl, if you ever want to get into it. So a lot of writers are coming out and saying, hey, some facts in my book that I wrote are changed.
Oh, I haven't heard any of that yet.
That's weird.
I mean, you always hear about the Bible.
I didn't change it. The editor didn't change it. Why is this information changed?
Right. You always hear about the Bible Mandelas and stuff like that, but I've never heard of an actual author saying that their words got changed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if that happens, if certain of the string theory that we've talked about before, different timelines and all that is what could be influencing some of this Mandela effect. If you're making the timelines cross when you shouldn't, then you would have this kind of effect going on. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Jesus Good Bible says the veil was split. Masters always says it. Wait a minute. Let me go back. I'm trying to read that. Let's see. It says, when do you ever wonder when Jesus was crucified? The Bible says that the veil was split. Pastors always said it was the veil in the Holy of Holies, wasn't it? Well, that was the veil of the temple. But they didn't call it the Holy of Holies. They called it the veil of the temple because that was the only veil. That's what separated the rest of the temple from the Holy of Holies. So there was
Right.
only one veil. And the veil, what the Bible says in the old King James Version, it was rent. It was torn, split, you might say.
So I guess you could interpret that as being a division between our world and the spirit world.
Well, yeah, you could say that because we've always said that the veil or the gulf between life and death is sort of like a veil. It's sort of like, in other words, the reason they always gave that description as a veil is that, I don't know if you realize this or not, but a true veil, you can kind of see through it. So it's sort of, a gossamer type thing. And you can't see clearly through it, though. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's kind of what it's saying, that sometimes, and here's what I've said this before about this, when you approach the veil, when you get close to the veil, your perception changes. You can see the veil, you can see through the veil better, in other words. Or you may have that experience when you experience something beyond that veil, okay, or that gulf, or whatever name you want to call it. Things change when you get that close to death in life, and that boundary separates them. I've been there, I know. When you get to those things get really different. Okay, it's kind of hard to explain, but things get really strange. It's the valley of the shadow of death. Okay,
Right.
It's not going to be normal. Put it that way. It's not going to be a normal experience, and that's when I think a lot of people that come back from death or near-death experiences are changed by the very thing, the very experience itself, because it
Yeah.
changes them not just physically or mentally, but spiritually mostly, because it is a very spiritual experience. See what I'm saying? But I have known people who, especially like elderly people, who were very close to death. They could see things that you and I, Gerald, couldn't see. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yep.
They're closer to that veil than you and I. They're going to
Yeah.
have a different experience,
They might actually see their loved ones coming to visit them.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard of many cases that I've studied thousands of near-death experiences. It's a fascinating subject, by the way. And a lot of science claims, oh, this is just hallucinations. There's the mind still going and trying to. I don't believe it. Some of it may be. Okay, because it could be heavily influenced by drugs they've given you and all this stuff. But I think there's so much of a percentage of it that just don't fall in that category. You know what I mean?
Right.
And to me, I think there's a lot of legitimate stuff on it. We need to do a show on that sometime, Gerald.
There's too
Absolutely. Near
many.
death stuff.
There's,
Fascinating stuff, man.
there's too many people that's had near-death experiences that have talked about similar things, whether they see the bright light or whether loved ones come and visit them, whether they see angels or even Jesus comes to them. I mean, there's just so many people have the same kind of experiences, although a little different each time. It's not the same for everybody, but there's just too many reports out there to not be some truth into it.
Here's what Edgar Allan Poe said about that. And this is the beginning of what was the premature burial. Okay. He said the boundaries which separate life and death are at best shadowy and vague. Who is to say exactly where it is that the one ends and the other begins? In certain mysterious maladies, all functions of vitality in the human body seem to stop, and then some unseen force sets the magic pinions and the wizard wheels in motion once again. The silver cord hath not been cut, and the golden bowl has not been broken. And the soul, one wonders, what meantime has happened to the soul? To me, that is fascinating because that is a boundary between life and death. And if you get too close to that boundary, you can experience and see things spiritually at a heightened spiritual echelon than you would any other way. Put it that way.
Right.
Yeah. But he is directly quoting the Bible there, by the way. because the Bible talks about when your life is over, the silver cord is cut and the golden bowl is broken. That's your life gone. In other words,
Right. The
that's
vessel.
it. He stole that directly from the Bible. Okay,
Yep.
that's where that comes from. I think it's in Psalms. I'm not sure, but anyway, um, all good writers always plagiarize the Bible. Okay, but anyway, that is a fascinating thing when you get that close to this veil, that doorway, that spiritual opening. Things are going to change, and I think your perception of reality changes as well.
Absolutely. So have you ever seen the Sedona portal experiment that guy did and disappeared in his house or apartment?
Well, there's one very famous case, and I think it happened in Kentucky, if I'm not mistaken, where this guy, he was a farmer, and his wife and three little kids was standing on the front porch, and he walked across the front yard, and I like went about halfway to the yard and just disappeared. And for like, so you heard about this? They said like for 2 or 3 days later, they could hear him
Oh,
calling them, but they
right.
couldn't see him. They couldn't find. They looked for a hole. They looked everywhere. They couldn't figure out what happened to this guy.
Yeah, the daughter kept saying, "I hear Daddy calling me or talking to me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a fascinating case there, man. That sounds
Well,
very much like what? A portal.
yep.
And
So
of course,
this,
the very famous Twilight Zone episode, Little Girl Lost. Remember that?
yeah,
Where the little girl fell through the wall of her room, and they figured
absolutely.
out she went into another dimension. Kind of like that picture you see there, some kind of other dimension. And the family dog was able to go in there and get her and bring her back out. You remember that, don't you, Drew?
Yep, I remember that.
Very famous one, yeah.
So this is from Sedona, and this happened in October 2017, where this video appeared online. Now, some people say it was fake, some people say it's real. So you got people on both sides trying to explain it away. But this guy's
that's the possibility that could be a reflection, but I'd have to see more of what's in that room.
well, you need to watch the video to get the full. I just took screen capture so we didn't have to show a video.
Yeah, because that looks kind of like a reflection in a picture frame or something. I don't know.
If I would have took a picture of it from before it got to this point, it was just a tiny slit of light and not having the circle part.
Well, let me tell you this. I have seen with my own eyes spiritual energy manifest very much like that in orbs thing. And actually, Gerald, it is an energy, okay? Because I have seen it go pop, it will go pop and go away.
Right.
Yeah. Now, when you see something like that, now that's not a dust mote or a water droplet, okay? That's a real thing. That's a real orb kind of a thing. When you see something like that, I think a lot of these orbs, whatever they may be, are definitely some type of energy. You know?
So this guy was doing an experiment, and he was taking a sound generator at 528 hertz, and he was mixing it with another sound generator to get two frequencies to bounce off, and it was coming out of that speaker on his bed, and that's when this portal started opening up.
Mm-hmm. Like I
and
said,
then as the portal started getting bigger and clearer, as you can see, there's another.
You can see something else on the other side of
there's
it.
Something else on the other side, a whole different landscape.
But you have to wonder, if this is not really manipulated. The only way, we've talked about this before, the only way you can ascertain this is to have been there yourself, or at least very well know the people that did it, Because I have seen one similar to this, where the man is actually standing in front of a mirror and reaches through the mirror, and he can look through the mirror, and he's in a big giant warehouse. You ever seen that?
Yeah,
it's in a great huge warehouse of some sort. But that looks very manipulated to me. It looks like AI or something. You really don't know.
It could be. I mean, people are explaining it one way or the other. A lot of people believe it, and a lot of people are trying to discredit it. And I don't know, but I know there's the guy that brought this video out said that the guy that did this experiment has disappeared offline. Now, whether nobody can find him or not, I don't know. I haven't looked for him, but I haven't heard a peep out of any other experiments or anything about this guy. I don't even know what his name is, other than he went by Funky Fat
Well,
Head.
here's the thing about that, Gerald. If something is very legitimate, you're going to open it or welcome scientific investigation into it. Okay, you're not just going to disappear for some. When you disappear, you do it usually for a valid reason.
Well,
You
they're
have to wonder about
saying,
that. But let me
but
say this.
they're saying,
Here's the
Dennis,
only
that
thing I can tell you
he went through his own
about.
portal and disappeared, is what they're saying.
Well, the only
That
thing
he
I can
actually
tell
went
you about
in.
that kind of video, the only thing I can say about that is we do know science says that portals do exist. We know they do exist. We've actually seen some types of portals and seen what do you call it, the sort of the machinations of it behind it, how it works and all that. We know all about that. Okay, that is proven fact in that respect. So you can say that about these kind of videos. That even if they are fake, they could be a knockoff of the real thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Bad about doing that for millions of months. Reading something here. Oh man, sounds like they're bad about doing that for millions of views. More to get good thing. Yeah, you have to wonder about when somebody disappears for certain reasons. Either it was a valid reason for disappearing, like maybe they got snatched or they got unalived or something because they got too close to the truth. That happens. Yeah, but then if there's also fraud involved, they will disappear too because they cover their tracks up. That's another way, So you never know what you're going to do. Well, let me say this: in my career of paranormal investigation all these years, I have run into tons of frauds. Okay, people trying to pull stuff over on you, and you would not believe. I've even found hidden speakers and stuff. Okay, I mean, you got to really be very, very, very careful how you approach things. Because your reputation is at stake.
Right.
Definitely. You don't want them to assassinate your reputation.
Well, I like the fascination of it actually being true, that you could create your own portals using frequencies or a magnetic field. And the report that people are saying that he disappeared is because he actually made this portal and went into it and disappeared. Not that he was trying to hide.
That's a possibility too. Yeah.
I mean,
Uh,
personally, I think it kind of looks like it's manipulated, maybe. I don't know, but I like the mystery of it.
Here's what I warn people, Gerald, about portals. And I have talked to people that claim, they say, well, I went through a portal, I done this and that. You better be very, 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 very careful messing around with that kind of stuff, because you can disappear, definitely, forever. I don't doubt that one minute, because if you go through the wrong portal, if you don't know how to get back or whatever, you are messing with the X unknown factor. And you better be very, very careful what you're doing.
Right.
And came to Bennett the wrist down, then and made a circular motion from the wrist and back to, and it closed. Yeah. I don't know. Well, like I said before, there are magic rituals that supposedly will do this. There are certain rituals that you can do to open certain portals. I think certain activity of the human mind can do that. I think you can manipulate it with technology, without a doubt. And it, like I say, and therefore it may also be naturally occurring in some places. That's a fascinating part. You never know what you're dealing with.
Yep.
Remind me of those YouTube time traveler video. They built a backstory about that. Oh yeah. So there's been a lot of people claim through the years that they have been time travelers and all that stuff, but a lot of that never holds up to real, true scientific inquiry on stuff like that. You got to remember something about, if you're going to do something the scientific way, you've got to have what? Empirical evidence. What did Carl Sagan say? Extraordinary claims require what? Extraordinary evidence.
Well, here's a map that I found of vortexes in where all the incidents and weird strangeness stuff happens in these areas. They got the airport vortex, they got the Bunton Canyon vortex, Bell Rock vortex, the Red Rock Crossing Cathedral vortex. So everywhere in and around Sedona, they have all these disappearings and these weird portal things going on. And supposedly this is a map of where everything's located. So
Yeah,
Sedona is very high strangeness going on.
let me say this. National parks would be a notorious area for experimentation because it's out of the way, it's out away from the public. And why are there so many people disappearing in a lot of these national parks like that? That's interesting too. You smell some smoke. You may not see the fire, but there's some smoke definitely in the air on some of this stuff. Absolutely. And let me say this. I'm not going to say everybody that disappears does that, but I'm just saying there may be a large percentage of it that, may be connected to that.
Right. So I just wanted to bring up that there's a lot of supposed magnetic fields or vortexes that's happening in and around these areas around Sedona. And this guy supposedly created a portal in Sedona. So I just thought the two went together really well.
Blazer says he had the feeling that I missed some of this here. Hold on, man. Blazer said he had the feeling that it was that he met his own self from the future. That is interesting to think about. There have been some movies and TV shows based on certain stuff like that. Here's an interesting thing about that. I always remember that very famous scene from Doctor Who, where he's walking into a building and he passes himself walking out, and he says, "You know what? I hate it when that happens." That's a time travel blimp there for you. Definitely.
Well, there's been reports of people in cars passing each other on the highways and interstates where they think they saw their car go in the opposite direction, or they passed a car and it's like they look over and it's them.
Yeah. Well, here's another thing, and there are very famous cases of disappearance. You can just get lost in the woods. It's easy to do. People don't really realize one tree looks about the same as another tree. Okay. It's you can get lost very easily. I have got disoriented a couple of times myself, and I'm pretty good. I got a pretty good sense of direction. Okay. But it can happen to anybody. Okay. Absolutely. That's one factor you got to always think about. It is easy to get lost in the woods. No doubt about it. That's why you need to always have a compass with you just in case. But they can't say I got lost. Okay. But anyway, I got my compass. But it is easy to do, easier than people realize. Especially, and that's why I caution against people tramping through the woods at night. You better be very careful and understand what you're doing, because you can get in big trouble. You can get in bogs. You can trip over fences, a barbed wire fence. You can run into all kinds of trouble at night going through the woods. Okay. That's why only nocturnal animals move at night, because they can see in the dark.
Right.
And you and I can't. We're not nocturnal animals. We have to have flashlights and stuff like that. Believe me, I've went out in the woods. I've been in the woods miles from anything. You do not know what real darkness is, my friends. You get out in the woods like that, okay? On a night when there's no moon and no stars or nothing, you are in the real dark, okay? You cannot see your hand in front of your face. That is not a good feeling, because you can get disoriented very quickly that way. And it's very much like these chambers that people, I've always wanted to try one out, these chambers you can lay in water,
Right.
Suspended, and you're supposed to lose your orientation of reality to a certain extent.
Yeah.
That would have to be very freaky, definitely.
A deprivation chamber.
Mm-hmm. Deprivation machine, yeah.
That was one of my favorite movies, Altered States, where he did that and he started going backward in time.
Yeah. That's a good movie. Yeah. Yeah.
So have you heard of this case of the firefighter going through a portal and goes from New York to California?
Kyle Smith says electric fences are really bad if you're dying to go to the restroom. Yeah, that would not be a good idea. Be careful where you do that at. Sensory deprivation chamber. Yeah. By John Liddy. That would tend to give you a disorientation. You might lose a grasp on reality there. You know what I'm saying? And that was the same thing out in the woods in the middle of the night. I've had a lot of people come to me. Okay, and like I say, for many years, I've looked for Bigfoot, Dogman, all these other things in the woods. Okay, I was telling somebody the other day about the Snallygaster thing that I ran into. But anyway, the whole thing is, it's not a good idea unless you absolutely know what you're doing to start wandering around in the woods at night. Okay,
Right.
especially during hunting season. Okay, you don't want to do that during hunting season. Absolutely not. But a lot of people say, when should I go look for Bigfoot? And when I tell them, I say, here's what I advise them. I say, you don't want to go in the dead of night looking for Bigfoot. For one thing, he probably hears you coming from 2 miles away. And he's smart. He's not going to let you see him. Okay? He's smarter than that. So the best chance you have of seeing Bigfoot or any kind of cryptid is just at dusk or twilight or just at dawn. Those are the two best times to really look if you're going to be looking. But the best thing to do is not walking around all over the woods and not falling over things and breaking your neck. The best thing to do is get in a blind somewhere and watch. Bushwhacking, okay? That's
Right.
what a bushwhacker does. That's what you need to do. Instead of walking and wasting your time. I've talked to people that hunted things. I've never hunted bear, although I've run into bears. I've never actually went hunting for bear. I don't like that idea of hunting for bears. I think people will leave bears alone. But anyway, they say you got to have a specialized stuff to hunt some certain specialized creatures. And you don't, you can get in big trouble with game wardens if you're out jacklighting at night. Okay, you can get in big trouble. Okay, so I just advise people it's not a good idea to walking through the woods all night long looking for Bigfoot because you're just really wasting your time. That's not how you do it. But nobody listens to me. Okay, but anyway. But I mean, my own experience when I ran into Bigfoot, it was sort of like Twilight. It was dark, but I was just very lucky on that. That was a very lucky thing because I was not actually actively walking through the woods looking for him. You understand what I mean? I was
Yep.
sitting still, and he walked up on me, kind of a thing. Okay, and that's what you want. You don't want to have to walk up on him. You'd rather have it the other way around. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
You get a better experience out of it. But that's up to the private individual. You do what you want to do. But me, I don't think it's worth risking your life walking through the woods at night looking for something that you probably scared 2 miles away from you by just walking through the woods. Here's the thing about it. If you deer hunting, I'm deer hunting, you got to know this. A deer, if you're not careful, can smell you and hear you from 2 miles away. That's why most deer hunters do what, Gerald? They sit up in the tree and on the tree stand waiting for the deer to show up. That's the smart way. You know? But that's when a lot of people say, "Oh, I need to go walk through the woods tonight looking for Bigfoot." Well, good luck.
So did you hear about that firefighter that went through a portal in New York and ended up in California? It was all over the news.
I heard something about that, but I didn't get all the things. You want to enlighten us on that a little bit?
So 1 year after this guy in Sedona did his portal experiment, 1 year exactly in 2018, this firefighter, Danny, what was it? Philipposis was he's from Canada, but he was over in the New York state line.
Mm-hmm.
and he disappeared, and his crew and everybody was searching for him in upper state New York, looking for him for days. Thought he got covered by an avalanche or disappeared in the forest, whatever. 6 days later, he shows up and people find him on the streets in Sacramento, California, still in his fireman's outfit, still in his gear, disoriented and didn't know where he was.
That's interesting. Very interesting. That's very strange. He was lucky though; he got it back to that, right?
Yeah. So I mean, other than a portal, I don't know how you would go from New York to California and still be in your same gear, unless I don't know how long it would take you to go from New York to California normally, but it was 6 days later he showed up. Or at least that's when they found him 6 days later, wandering around in the streets.
It's kind of like the Fire in the Sky abduction. Remember that?
Yep.
Yeah. They were like gone for quite a while, and they showed up at different locations later on. Deer hunters, by all matters of sense, spray another crazy hunting tricks, accessories. Dennis, when you hunted, did you must have modern hunting age? Yes, I did do a lot of that over the years, but it's still they're smarter than people think they are. Put it that way. There used to be an old Indian saying that any brave can hunt a deer. It takes a really smart one to hunt a wild turkey because they are really smart. Okay, wild turkeys can be very, very enlightened. But you can also, and it's not really sporting to do that, but you can, feed deer too. You can bait them to try to get them to come to certain areas and all that. There's a lot of different techniques people use for that stuff. Some of it is definitely illegal. I would not advise it.
Right.
He had head trauma and somehow traveled to California. Yeah. I was telling Gerald earlier about that new movie Civil War. I watched it the other day. You need to check it out. It's very freaky. California and Texas form a nation and attack the United States. You need to watch this movie. It's very strange. But the California and Texas become a country called the Western Force, and they attack the United States and actually attack Washington D.C. That's all I'll tell you about it. You got to watch it. It's very interesting. But um, I've always liked time travel and time things like that. To me, it's fascinating stuff, and that's when you think about a lot of time travel or catching glimpses of the past or whatever. You had to definitely think about portals and doorways involved with that. Sometimes it's not just portals and doorways. Sometimes it's windows.
Yeah, never know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, deer will see a lot of things if you blink on the ground or whatever. Yeah, corn piles, apples, and yeah, they bait them sometimes do that. But you definitely don't want to be called jacklighting. That is a big no. They can actually impound your car or truck and take everything you've got on you at that time. Game wardens can impound everything you've got. It includes a travel trailer if you got one with you, whatever the situation. You never want a jacklight. No. California and Texas seem like they have opposite values, though, unlikely. And I know it's kind of strange. I thought it was. Maybe they, I don't know, maybe they swung the other way or something. I don't know. That's kind of strange. Also, there's a reference in the movie that they tried to get the Carolinas to join them.
Oh.
I don't know. It was or like a new Civil War kind of a thing. But I think it was really what it came down to was sort of like the West against the East instead of the North against the South. Oh yeah, that final countdown. Yeah, that was a good one too. I forgot about that one. But time travel, time glimpses, I like to call them, or echoes of time, or whatever name you want to call them, are fascinating cases like those with the two school teachers and other things. You hear people have a lot of these things going on. That's fascinating. I believe without a doubt that there is a way to time travel, but it may not be the way movies and books have said for many years. But I believe that there may be doorways through these time periods that you definitely can take to go from point A to point B, crossing timelines or something like that. I played with wild deer in the mountains, got done duck, went deer hunting, fell asleep on the ground, the dustness from my hair. I can't shoot that. Well, I'm gonna tell you what. When it comes to hunting game, I think it really shouldn't be hunting anything that you don't eat. If you're not going to eat it, really, you shouldn't be hunting it. Put it that way, really. I mean, I've done a lot of that in the past, and I really regret some of it. There's really no justification just to kill something, just to kill it. You know what I mean? Whatever it
Right.
may be. And that's why I've had a lot of people ask me, say, if you had Bigfoot or Dog Man in your crosshairs, would you pull the trigger? I don't know. I couldn't say. I'm gonna say this: I've done a lot of monster hunting in my time, but I've never went out to really actually kill one. I would rather capture it on camera or video and not have to bring it back that way. Definitely not. I would not want to unalive something like that unless it was a matter of life and death, and I was being attacked or something. That's a different story altogether. But I just don't see killing something for the sake of killing something.
Right.
Whatever it may be. Yeah, only if it threatened you. That's a different story. That's a case of survival. That's the law of nature. You kill what don't kill you. If it's trying to kill you, you got to kill it first.
Yep.
As General Patton would say. But anyway, um, I just don't sit around randomly taking life for no reason. I mean, and I think it's crosshairs like Bigfoot. Having seen Bigfoot, I know it exists. There's no doubt about it with me because I've seen it face to face. It is real. I couldn't shoot it because it's too human looking. I don't think unless it was, of course, was attacking me or somebody. That's a different story. But now, Dogman, I don't know. It depends on what kind of a disposition he has. If he's kind of threatening me, I might have to shoot him. I don't know. I'm gonna tell you something about the show Jessica did today on that with our good friend Kenny Starfox. I'm gonna be doing a show with him Thursday night, by the way. Anyway, uh, I think there's a lot of misidentification going on with some of this stuff. I think people are seeing Doll Man, maybe really seeing werewolves, and vice versa. I don't know. Makes you wonder.
Right.
If Gerald comes up to me tomorrow and says, "Well, Dennis, I saw a dog, man, but I went and asked for his ID just to make sure." I said, I wouldn't attempt that if I were you, Gerald. Okay. Don't do that. You not might be here for the next show, Gerald.
That's right.
Yep.
So if I don't show up, maybe
Mhm.
maybe I went through a portal.
There you go. But anyway, this is a fascinating subject, and it's been at over an hour now, but it is a fascinating subject. Got any more cases you want to share with us?
Absolutely. So here is the gates of gods in Peru. That if you go by the folklore or the oral history of the Incas, they said that when the conquistadors came and was trying to loot their gold, that their priest took a gold tablet and inserted it into this notch into this stone wall, and a portal opened up and he slipped through it with all their important stuff and gold and disappeared and never came back.
That's interesting. That sounds a little bit like those three stones in Indiana Jones would look for one time. Remember that?
Yeah.
They put three of them together and it opened some kind of a portal, I think.
So he had a gold disc with symbols and stuff on it. So I obviously don't know what it looked like, and I don't know if anybody knows what it looked like, but supposedly it had sacred symbols on it. And it was actually called the keys to the gods of the seven rays. So it was like a sun god kind of thing, I'm assuming.
It's just a shame nobody was there with a camera and said, let me take a picture of that before you stick it in there. Just in case.
So according to the Incas, this is the spot and this is where the priest went through a portal.
That's interesting. It'd be interesting to hang around that place, see if anything happens.
Yeah, maybe that priest had come back. Maybe he has came back and nobody's ever caught him. Let
me tell you a quick story right quick, since you brought that up, made me think about this. I have a friend, you heard me talk about Nick Redfern, who is a very prolific paranormal writer, has written over a couple of hundred books. He said he did an experiment one time on the moors, and he's from England. And he was, I think it was on Bodmore or something like that. Anyway, he did an experiment out there. I want you to think about this a minute. He spent like 2 or 3 days out there in a tent, okay? And he said every night for a couple of hours, he would visualize this monster, okay? He would visualize this monster he had in his mind, trying to get this thing to really, truly materialize, okay? Well, he did this for 3 nights, and nothing happened, okay? He was rather disappointed in it. And nothing happened. So he finally gave up. He packed his gear up and went back home, And said about 2 weeks later, he heard about somebody actually seeing that monster on that moor. Wow. Here's the interesting thing about, did he open a portal with his mind and let this thing through, or what?
Did he manifest it?
Or did he manifest it? Yeah. You have to wonder what's going on. Or could it be one and the same? Can you manifest something by bringing it through a portal? That's wild, ain't it? Think about it.
Yeah, it is.
But it was very strange that, about like 2 weeks later, somebody reported seeing something very similar to what he was trying to bring through. That would be freaky. But you have to be very careful, because the mind can be, I think, especially the imagination of the mind, can be a very strong pull on certain things,
Yep.
Kyle Smith says, deer love banjo music without your picks. Huh? Oh, okay. They like bluegrass, do they? They like grass anyway, so probably they like bluegrass, definitely.
Yeah, they do.
Wish I could explain what dog man is. I have never seen one. Kind of like a werewolf, but larger, meaner, smarter, and possibly interdimensional. There's a lot of conjecture on what dog man truly is, but there's not. Here's the interesting thing I find about dog man. I'll say this, and probably I get people mad at me for this, but there's not a whole lot of Native American stuff on dog man. If you go back and do your research, people are going to say, oh, shut up, Dennis, you know what you're talking about. I said, wait a minute, because I've been a premier researcher for a long, long, long time, okay? And trust me when I say there's not a whole lot on Dogman. There's more on Bigfoot with the Native Americans than there are with Dogman. Why is that? Because Dogman was not very popular up until what? The 1970s? 80s, somewhere in there, when that song came out and it got more popularized. Then you have to wonder, where was Dogman at all those years?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
Now, I'm not saying he does not exist. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things out there that has a possibility of existing. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I just have to wonder if maybe this son of a gun got manifested a lot by people looking for him.
Could be. I mean, it also could have been mistaken reports of werewolves being reported when it really was Dogman.
I'm going to tell you something else, Gerald. Okay, you never hear anybody talk about this, but I have seen some skinny, mangy bears. Okay, that you could really mistaken for a werewolf if the light wasn't quite right. You know what I'm saying? And people get scared. You know that, they get scared and get freaked out. Their imaginations kick in a lot of times too. Okay, I don't want to sound like a Debbie Downer here. Okay, I'm not trying to be a doubter. I'm just telling you that's part of the factor of what you got to factor in on it here. Okay.
Yep.
I mean, just do not think, just my own experience, that there's that much of documentation on Dogman as they are on Bigfoot. I may be wrong.
We interviewed a guy, Mr. E, that he talked about that hyenas would sometimes go up on their hind legs and they would look like a werewolf or a dog man.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing: the classic werewolf doesn't usually walk around on two legs. The classic werewolf walks on four legs. He is a monster wolf. It's a horrible looking thing. It's supernatural, but he can walk on two legs when he wants to, like a bear can. Okay, and I've seen bears walk a long ways, just as good as you and I can, Gerald. Okay. Oh yeah, but that is not perpendicular to a dog or a wolf to do. Bears are made that way. Okay, so the real classic, honest, and I'm not talking about the Wolfman now. Different thing altogether. I'm talking about the classic werewolf, like the Beast of Gavardon and all these other werewolves you hear about, Peter Stubb and all this stuff. They walked on four legs, like a regular wolf. Only they were bigger, monstrous, like a dire wolf kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
That's what a werewolf truly looks like. Although they are supernatural creatures, they're not natural creatures. If you walk up on a wolf pack tonight, and if they're hungry, you may have a big problem. Okay? But most of the time, they will avoid you. Because you are what? An apex predator. You can unalive them very good. You're the only threat to them, okay? Besides maybe a bear or a mountain lion, you know what I'm saying? Okay, they understand that you are a threat. They're not stupid. Because they've run into humans before, probably, or they've observed them doing what they do, or they've been hunted by humans. Wolves get a bad rep. But they're just an animal like any other animal, just like the hyenas you talked about. You know, America once upon a time had hyenas, by the way. And we still got jaguars, okay? There's a lot of other stuff out there.
Right.
Put it that way. A mountain lion. I would not want to run. I have seen mountain lions. And you know, they're not little kittens, okay? They are big. They are bad looking dudes, okay? You do not want to run into them. I'd rather run into a bear. You might have a better chance with a bear than you would a mountain lion.
Yeah.
I walked it. I had a bear follow me out of the woods. Right behind me. I mean, I could have turned around and popped him on the nose, okay? He was right behind me because he thought I had an extra sandwich, okay? It might have been Yogi. I'm not sure, okay? But anyway, you know, that's not, most of the time, bear, unless it's a she bear, it's going to leave you alone. Unless there's something wrong with them. They're aggressive, they hurt, or there's something going on with them. You know, they just, animals like you and I, Gerald, they can have a bad day just like you and I can, okay? You don't want to ever catch them on their bad day, though, okay? Because things could go very bad for you. But you always run that chance, okay? But here's the thing about it. Predators like bears, wolves, mountain lions, they're looking for two things. They're looking for a victim that's either very young and doesn't know any better, or old and disabled. Because that's the two kind of things they usually go after. Okay. So if you're out in the woods, whatever you do, act like you know what you're doing, or don't act like you're disabled. Okay. You might come out okay. That's when you have to turn. I've actually scared a bear off like that one time. I just hollered at him and he took off. He didn't want to mess with me. You can do that. But luckily he was a bear with a good disposition. You know? I bluffed my way through that one.
Yeah.
But it could go the other way too. You never know. Yeah, if you don't get between them, the salmon and the rivers, don't ever do that either. No, they might decide that you might taste better. That's why I said that. That's what my favorite saying about dragons is: do not meddle in the affairs of dragons, because you are crunchy and taste good with ketchup. You might as well leave the bears alone too. Says, hello, Gerald. It's Derek. Your YouTube completely shut down my channel. My phone contacts, everything lost 4 years of data, even phone contacts. They teamed up with Google.
Oh.
That don't
Yeah,
sound good.
I saw Derek pop in under that name and a couple other chats the other day, so I knew it was Derek. So he lost his woo, his Derek Woo.
Mm-hmm.
Woo Rider.
YouTube doing some weird stuff. YouTube completely shut down my channel, my phone contacts, and everything. Lost 4 years of data, even phone contacts.
Wow.
They teamed up with Google. I think Google owns YouTube. Is that correct, Drew?
Yes, I believe so.
I think it does. I think the parent company of Google owns YouTube. That's probably why that happened.
Because I think you got to use a Google email or an account to get a YouTube account.
Yeah, I rumble better, huh? I seen a video online. This mountain lion was stalking a hiker. That's the thing about mountain lions. If you get in their territory, they have a territory that could be like a mile or so around. And as soon as you get in their territory, they know it. These animals are smart. They're not stupid, folks. Okay, trust me, they're smarter than we are in many ways. Okay, they begin to immediately stalk you in an ever closing in circle around you. I've seen them do it. You better watch out what you better watch out where you're at, because once they start stalking you, you could be in for some bad trouble.
Yep.
But they will start circling around you and getting tighter and tighter as it goes. I'll tell you, one of the weirdest sounds you will ever hear is late at night, alone, out by yourself. Way out in the woods, you hear a mountain lion scream. Sounds like a woman screaming, by the way.
Oh, wow.
Weird. You're talking about something weird, raised with hackles on the back of your neck, buddy. That is a strange sound. All you channel people, back up your work on external drives if you want to keep it. Yeah, that's a good idea. I think, as a matter of fact, it's a good idea to back up the backup of the backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
New press just signed press orders that free speech is legal. Don't know if platforms will abide by that, but they should. Well, I think we have entered a new era, folks. Hopefully things will work out better. But they will fight this man all the way, just like they did before. Don't think they won't. They're already talking about resistance. I just want my phone contacts back. All my business stuff was on that. You have a Google phone, by the way? You should have been able to get your phone contacts, unless you have a Google phone of some sort, maybe. Is that what's going on with them? Free speech has always been legal. Yes, it's supposed to be. I think
But
it's
it's
there's
not.
something called a constitution about that, isn't it, Joel?
Yeah. It's too bad that companies don't abide by that, whether it's Facebook or the platform we're on now, or they tend to censor you. So it's not really a freedom of speech. So I don't care what anybody says. People are being censored.
Roger Blair says one of my cousins and his friends were hunting one night, and their hounds treed a black panther here in eastern Kentucky. They will tell you real quick, Roger, that does not exist. I've had them tell me that. I said, well, what about the black panther? Oh, there ain't no such thing. Yeah, that's what the game wardens will tell you. Don't believe it, though. I've had too many reports otherwise. I've actually seen some of the tracks on this thing. Oh, my God. They look like African lion tracks or something, man. It's a lot of work editing videos. I don't see how it's illegal for them to do that. I don't. They got algorithms that will knock them out. It's all automated now. There's not. I don't think there's a human being at the other end doing all of that. Android is Google per the most part, but one can de-Google it using the Proton Mail. Now Google, yeah. Well, yeah, Android does have a lot of connections to Google, yeah. But there is a Google phone too. I've never had one, but there. J6 has got pardoned. Yeah, I heard about that. Oh yeah, Gerald. I was meant to tell you, you need to go to the Gulf and change the sign. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Gulf of America.
Don't forget that now. Gulf of America. Yep. And I tell you what, if you'll go to the Gulf and change sign, I'll go to Mount Kinley and change that one. Okay.
Oh, Mount Kinley. Yep, we got to do Mount Kinley. We got to do the Gulf of America. We got to do Greenland. We're going to have to do Panama Canal. It's going to be America Canal.
I want Greenland. Okay. There you go.
I'm pretty sure we should just take over Mexico too. Get them to be a state and a part of us. We'll really secure those borders.
Canada was smart. They would become the 51st day if they were smart. Okay. I would be thinking seriously about that if I were you, Canada.
Supposedly, 51% of Canadians want to join the U.S.
I don't know how many that was altogether. One of them's definitely not named Trudeau. Okay.
Yeah, but he likes to go to Florida. He enjoys the U.S.
Yeah, he likes it in Florida better. Let's see, what was that poem? It used to be about Canada. You know, Canada was part of Great Britain, and then it became independent from the empire. But there was a poem, I think Rudyard Kipling wrote about it. It said that so it was a daughter sent word to a mother. Let's see, a daughter sent word to a mother. A kingdom sent word to a throne. Daughter in mine, my mother's house, but mistress in my own. And the doors are mine to open, and the doors are mine to close. And I will set my house in order, said Our Lady of the Snows.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Funny what gets trapped up there, girl. Carrie Underwood did a great job. Yeah, she had to improvise, I heard.
Yeah, she sang it a cappella when the music wouldn't work. And
I just wonder if somebody did that on purpose.
Fantastic job.
I just have to wonder if somebody did that on purpose to mess her up. Or do you think it was accident?
I just think it was a glitch that it just happened. I don't know.
iPhone gave permission to be tracked by satellite. Have to go into each app and program to remove. I got news for you. If you carry any kind of a cell phone, you will be tracked. You can be tracked very easily. That's what kills a lot of terrorists, by the way. The dummies keep their cell phones. That's how you can find them. Everywhere you go, you don't even have to take your cell phone anymore. They've got cameras everywhere. They can get your facial recognition, find you wherever you're at. You're living in 1984 by Mr.
Big
Orwell.
brother. Big brother.
Mm-hmm. Well, this has been a fascinating show here, Gerald.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, we've opened a lot of portals and closed some doorways tonight. Anyway, if you got anything coming up this week that you want to tell the nice folks out there about?
Yeah, absolutely. Tomorrow is our Night Owl Lounge that will be 10 p.m. Central. We hang out with people and chat, and we're going to talk about one of Jane's great uncle's UFO reports that he had put into a regional newspaper column. So we'll be reading that tomorrow night. Thursday, I'm going to be on Scary Cast talking about high energy and free energy with frequencies and cathedrals and all that stuff. So that'll be on Scary Cast. And then Sunday at 6 p.m. Central, it's our Piercing the Veil, our normal show. We're going to have Angelica Benham, and she's going to be discussing little people.
And somebody wants to know about the drones, why nobody's talking about the drones anymore. They're on the back page of the newspaper, okay? They're still there, though, okay? Some other stuff got shifted on that, but the drones are still out there. I got still hearing people talking about seeing these drones and all that stuff. So it's still going on.
Right.
Be careful. You have to really pay attention when they're not saying anything. That's what you really got to watch. When they're not saying anything, you got to say, oh, well, what are they doing that for? But I want to thank you all for being here tonight. Don't forget, Hunting with Shadows, Wednesday at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Followed Friday night by Paranormal Point of View, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And tomorrow I have a show with Miss Lala Bright. I'll have to post that on my Facebook when I find out exactly when that is. I think it's going to be 7 o'clock, but I'll find out for sure. And we'll see how that goes. And we'll keep you all informed. Anything else happens on that. And we appreciate you being here tonight. And we appreciate so very much your support. Also want to make a note to all our mods out there that if you do have to take any kind of action, it might be best not to advertise it, okay? So if you do have to take any kind of action, do what you need to do, and that's it, okay?
Yep.
And we appreciate you, though. Our moderators are very essential. Absolutely. We thank you all for being here tonight. We thank you so much for your support. Come back and see us again one of these days now you're here. And if Lord willing and the creeks don't rise, we will be back to see you Wednesday night. And until then, remember, keep a handle on your freedom there, okay? And stick up for the Constitution, because we're all going to go with that. A new era has dawned for us, okay? And let's take advantage of it and support it as much as possible, definitely. But appreciate you all being here tonight. Thank you so much. And don't forget to support a lot of our friends. Jessica, the Cryptid Huntress, Beyond the Box, Chantel at Aquarius Rising Africa, Mr. Gerald Fountain with Midwest Night Watchers, his lovely wife Jane at Shiro Sounds. Please support them. They have stores. Check their stores out, and please do that as well, okay? We appreciate all of you and your support, and thank you so much. And by the way, I will also be doing a show Sunday night again with the Duchess.
All right.
Yeah, the Duchess. We're gonna be doing prophetic stuff on the Bible. So if you want to check us out Sunday night. That'll be, I think, about 7 o'clock. Yeah, Sunday night. So check that out, okay? And we appreciate your support and thank you so much for being here tonight. Gerald, you want to shut the door?
Yeah. Love and peace, everybody. We love you, and we'll check you out later. Good night.
Good night, and have a fantastic week ahead.